At 23 and 25 respectively, Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown are already two of the best players in the entire league. What's just as impressive is what they've been able to accomplish in just 5 seasons together. 2 conference finals appearances, NBA All-Star nods, breaking records in a storied franchise, and lifting the Celtics as a whole are just a few of them. But anytime you mention these two nowadays, you only hear people trying to compare the two or even suggest that one of them should be traded in order to shake things up for the franchise. In this video, we'll discuss the predicament that the Celtics currently have themselves in and why it would be a terrible decision to be in haste to separate Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Before we begin, be sure to leave a like on the video, as each like only takes a second every time but makes a tremendous difference for the channel. Also, feel free to subscribe to the channel for more content like this. The situation that both Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum found themselves in at such a young age was pretty much uncharted territory, because in just Tatum's rookie season, the Celtics heavily overachieved and were able to make the Eastern Conference Finals. Plus, they would have punched their ticket to the NBA Finals if not for a Herculean effort from LeBron James throughout the series. Moreover, at that point, the future was very bright. The Celtics would have Kyrie and Gordon Hayward back for the 2019 season, and on top of that, they still had depth in Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Terry Rozier, Marcus Morris, etc., etc. Well, it's safe to say that 2019 didn't come out as planned. Drama swirled around the team due to Kyrie's impending free agency and his questionable leadership tactics. Gordon Hayward was prematurely thrust into a starting lineup despite being nowhere near his all-star self, and the younger guys on the roster who were pivotal in that 2018 playoff run struggled to adapt to more support roles. Following the season, Kyrie and Al Horford would leave in free agency, but at the same time, this wasn't the worst outcome possible. Sure, these vets were obviously key players to the Celtics' success, but their departures meant one thing. It was now Tatum and Brown's time to shine as the pillars of the franchise. And lo and behold, that's exactly what they did. Tatum and Brown both had career years, and the Celtics would wound up in the Eastern Conference Finals yet again, this time losing to the Miami Heat in 6 games. Outside of just another Conference Finals appearance, what was notable about this season was the signing of Kemba Walker, a move that proved to be dreadful in hindsight. In 2019, Kemba was an All-NBA performer and was touted as one of the best guards in the entire NBA. Thus, his availability in free agency could have been seen as a no-brainer from the Celtics' perspective, given that they lost Kyrie Irving as well. However, Kemba spent a lot of his time in Boston on the sidelines due to injury, and his actual playstyle wasn't the perfect fit for either JT or JB. All the Celtics needed from the guard position was a cost-effective one that could handle the ball, create for himself and others, and operate well as a floor spacer. Instead, they unnecessarily signed Kemba to a massive deal, which compromised the depth on the team, a problem that this team still has. Ironically, Kemba's deal was eventually swapped out for Al Horford's deal in what was the first move of Brad Stevens as the president of basketball operations. This move would end up with the Celtics trading a first-round pick. And speaking of the picks that they've kept over the years, they really haven't amounted to much. Outside of Time Lord being a productive piece and Grant Williams being solid, guys like Romeo Langford and Peyton Pritchard haven't really made tremendous impact on the team. What makes matters worse is that the Celtics actually had their selection at number 30 in the 2020 draft, but they traded that pick away to the Memphis Grizzlies on draft night. Yeah. Wonder who that could be. It was Desmond Bane, a player who would have been ideal for this team on a cost-effective deal, but I digress. Also in the 2020 offseason was the departure of Gordon Hayward, which shocked many given that opting out of $30+ million was considered lunacy. When Hayward entered free agency, all the momentum was shifting towards him signing with the Indiana Pacers, setting up a sign-and trade where the Celtics would receive Miles Turner, a rotational piece, and a first-round pick. However, Danny Ainge reportedly declined this deal, and Hayward would surprisingly end up with the Hornets. But not all hope was lost. The Celtics gained a $28 million trade exception with Hayward's departure and had a lot of possibilities as to what they could do with the exception. However, this exception only went towards acquiring Evan Fournier at the trade deadline, a player who wasn't that impactful for them and ended up leaving free agency, and acquiring Josh Richardson in the offseason. Additionally, Marcus Smart has regressed as a defender, which makes a tremendous difference given his shortcomings as a player. If he's not going to be elite defensively, then the questionable shot selection and spotty three-point shooting seem to rear their ugly heads even more. Up to this point in the video, I've talked about the Celtics at large instead of censoring this vid around JT and JB, which was pretty much deliberate, because people have seen a lack of success with the Celtics over the last 2 years, and for whatever reason, attribute that to Jaylen and Jayson not working well together. But the truth of the matter is, they're pretty much the only two bright spots for the Celtics right now. Jaylen Brown has taken yet another step in his game and should make the All-Star team, and Jayson Tatum, though having a down year from 2021, is still one of the best forwards in the entire league. The Celtics aren't losing because these two aren't a great pair, they're losing because the supporting cast is far from ideal and not how you'd like to build around these two. Them being fire and ice and not averaging 10 assists a game has nothing to do with the fact that their team can't stay afloat unless they're going off. Having even one solid wing on your team is difficult for any team to accomplish, as they're probably the hardest utility pieces to find in the entire league. The Celtics, by themselves, have two of the best wings in the entire league, and not only are they all-star caliber, but neither of them have even hit their prime yet. The premise shouldn't be that the Celtics must trade one of their wings to be successful. The question should be, what can the Celtics do in the future to best position these two moving forward? This season already seems to be over in terms of title hopes for this team, barring some magical turnaround or some drastic move at the deadline that can change life for this team. But hey, those are just my thoughts, and I'd love to hear what you guys have to say in the comment section down below. If you were the Celtics, would you split up Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum? And if so, what realistic targets are available for them to be traded for? And if you're on the keep both of them train like I am, then what should the Celtics do in order to make deep playoff runs in the future? Be sure to leave a like in the video to boost in the algorithm, and also feel free to sub for more content like this. Thank you guys for watching, hope to see you guys in the next one, and stay tuned.